You're listening to the Sales Success Stories podcast, where we deconstruct world-class sales performers to provide insights and strategies to help you improve. To learn more, visit us at top1.fm. Here's your host, Scott Ingram.
I've got a special bonus episode for you today for two reasons. One, Paul DiVincenzo from Cintas is back with me because of a note he sent me the evening after our interview, which hopefully you've had a chance to listen to by now. And two, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Sales Success Summit that is now just a couple of weeks away. So Paul, thanks for joining me again.
Yeah, no problem.
Let me start by just reading an excerpt of your note where you said, I think my primary message to new and experienced sellers would be exactly that. Be authentically you. In my opinion, being your authentic self along with a great state, story, strategy, work ethic, and team are the combined elusive keys to success of being a top performer. Seems easy, but I've seen many sellers get caught up on challenger, spin, the next new style, tactic, etc., and forget themselves along the way. So when I read that, I realized that that is basically the differentiator that gets somebody into the top spot and into a position to talk to me about their success on the show, where obviously I only interview top 1% performers, and knew we had to do a follow-up. So will you talk a little bit about that just a little bit more and explain what you mean about being authentically you?
Yeah, sure. I thought about, it's kind of one of those things, and you and I joked about it just right now when we got on the phone call, but everyone on the phone should relate to this, is when you walk out of a sales call or a meeting, many times you are rethinking that process in the back of your mind, and you think, I should have said this, or I should have been more succinct. And so that email was really my attempt to be more clear. And so that was what that last summary is. But that was really what I was thinking is, how do we make it clear and easy to get the action items in a very simple way? And so what I meant by being authentically you is it took a long time for me to do this. So I think that's why I've highlighted it. And it's not my concept. I think if we Google probably anything that we talk about, in many cases, we've all picked it up from different places. What I can tell you in this particular one, and why I articulated it with authentically you, is we had a meeting at our company about this. And I think we all go through this, is struggling with trying to be something. And even on this podcast, people that are trying to get to the top 1% or trying to be a top performer, they're looking at us and saying, okay, I'm going to try to model and be like that person. And I think those are all okay when you look at some of the tactics and the tools and the mindset things. And those are all great because they're important. But at the end of the day, I still believe you have to be yourself. And I know that seems very contrite and just be yourself and everything will be okay. And it doesn't mean that you don't learn really great strategy, selling components, all those things. But it's very, very important. I think and you pulled it out, and I'm sure it's come through in a lot of the other talks, but it's so important to be yourself that I think it's the key differentiator. Because when you're meeting with a customer or internally, that's the differentiator.
Well, and that's why I say I think it's the differentiator, right? Because I'm constantly looking back at, and I so rarely do it on my own podcast. It's funny, I go on other sales podcasts and I talk about sort of the common themes, but I so rarely do it here. And I guess we'll get a chance to do it some at the summit, but I'm constantly looking for what are the themes, what are the common denominators, what do we see most consistently among the best of the best. And at the end of the day, the styles and the approaches, if you've listened to any number of these interviews, they're all over the place. But I think what's most consistent is they have figured out how to incorporate the different strategies and techniques and the things that they've read and picked up over time, and they've assembled their own process and their own approach. But at the core of it, it's them and it's who they are. And the other thing that I think about just in my own experience is the difference between the good and great bosses that I've had, the great sales leaders, and the ones who've absolutely sucked. And the ones who sucked, what they did was they had their way that they tried to impose upon me, and it wasn't the right fit. Like, I can't be you. I can't do it your way. The great sales leaders were the ones who helped me be better me. Right? They helped like polish Scott, like, oh yeah, okay, I see what you're doing. I see what your style is. If we just tweak it this way. And frankly, you did that for me. I mean, as we were talking through this episode, I sent you some ideas and what I was thinking, and you changed 3 words. And I think it made all the difference.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. I think that's, we talked about it a lot on the podcast, so we won't get into it here, but just like you said, if you have a great sales leader or mentor, they're seeing you do things a way that you can't see. But if they're really great, and this is what we're talking about here, I think, is somebody can just do this on their own. If they keep this in their mind to say, am I really being true to myself? So I'm not losing myself into what somebody else is telling me to do, or even what they're perceiving as what it takes. But you're right. If you have a great leader, and I think this is also another running theme, is none of us could be the top 1% if we didn't. If we had a horrible boss, we probably wouldn't be where we're at. But they almost always are exactly that. All they do is foster you, the top performer, to be a better you, top performer. And the majority of that, not just a better you in KPIs, reports, blah, blah, blah. It's more about how do you take yourself to the next level so that you never lose yourself, no matter if you're talking to a CEO or a purchasing person, so on and so forth. You're always taking yourself into those environments. And it's hard to articulate, but I think it comes through. And that's what the differentiator is. When you're dealing with people, until we're all dealing with robots, which hopefully is not as never. Until then, you are dealing with another person. And if you want to stand out against your competition, yes, you need to know your stuff. You need to be sharp. You need to be on it. You need to be following up. You need to do all those things. But more importantly than that, when you engage with your prospect, your client, they're going to feel if they're talking to a real person or a salesperson. And the great salespeople do not sell. They're just themselves. And they are really trying to do the right thing by their clients or customers or prospects. And that will come through, and you will win those clients, prospects, or customers. And you're going to love doing business with them. And the ones you have to sell too much, those could be your headaches. So I think it's a huge portion. I mean, since this particular podcast is specifically about how to become a top 1%, if you're not already, and I'll have to collect my thoughts and really articulate in the summit how you get there. But we could probably talk briefly here about why it makes sense. I know we've just been discussing it, just being yourself, being authentic, that's going to come through. But a little bit more about that is really to be courageous. And I say that because a lot of sellers get into sales cultures, environments, and they feel like they got to be somebody else. And the answer is just the opposite. So I think that's the why, is if you really, it's just like in our podcast, we talked about the perception of a top performer is they're all doing it on their own. And I think it's not. We're a team player. And it's the same thing here, is they think that we are acting as if, and we're acting as if in front of a customer or internally, and we're not. We're just being ourselves. And so that's what I'm encouraging everybody to do that. And if you felt like you lost yourself for a little while, pull it back in. Because that's going to be the key to your success.
So well and perfectly stated. And that's exactly it, right? We got a chance to talk about the why, but the how is what really matters. And I think this is so significant, and I've asked Paul to join me on the stage at the Sales Success Summit, where he'll be presenting on, and the title we came up with is Accepting Your Authentic Self to Win. We're also going to get into some career progression discussions as well, because it's one of the most common questions I get, and the breadth of experience that we'll have in the room at the summit is tremendous. So Colin Spector has progressed from SDR to AE, and now just recently to Director of Sales. Bill Pye will be on that panel as well, and he spent time in field sales, then as a VP of sales, and now he's back in a strategic account management type of role. I'm probably also going to call on Mike Dudgeon for that panel as well. He's leading a team at LinkedIn right now, but was their number one AE before he'd made that move. And LinkedIn is really good about career pathing and what they call next play. So I think between those folks, and I may add one or two more to the panel just to get the right mix of experience, because when you're doing well, there are lots of options and decisions to be made. Does it make sense to continue as an individual contributor? Do you want to make huge money like Trong or Paul here? Or should you move into leadership? And if so, how do you position yourself for that first step? These are really big questions with life-altering impacts, and we're going to tear into it with this elite group of mentors that have no agenda other than to help you improve and to pay it forward to this community. So I'm going to make a really big ask here. Before Paul's gigantic knowledge bomb, I was going to title this episode, I was still going to do this little bonus episode, and its title was going to be, "If you're not willing to do this, ... please don't come." And the this in that case is pay for yourself to attend the summit. Success leaves clues. If you're not willing to invest in yourself and pay out of your own pocket to attend the summit, then do us a favor and please just don't come. This isn't a money grab. This is about creating an incredible experience for everybody that invests the time and money to be in Austin for this event. One of the biggest things that is going to impact that experience is who is a part of it. Not just the 20 or more top performers who've been on the podcast who will be there, but everyone. We'll all be asking questions and a part of the conversations that happen throughout the event. And I'm more concerned about having the right people at this event than I am about potentially having a few empty seats. Now, I'm not saying don't go sell this to your leadership and ask your company to offset some or all of your expenses. What I'm saying is, if you'll only come if somebody else is going to pay for you and you don't believe in the value of investing in yourself to learn what you need to get to the next level and start building a network of amazing mentors, then just don't ask. This event isn't right for you yet. Maybe next time, or maybe you'll just want to buy access to the video content we'll likely have available after the event is over. This event is about surrounding yourself with the best. And if you don't have the mindset and don't think that you can get there, then skip it. No hard feelings. You've still got the podcast and that will always be free. On the other hand, if this is the type of content and the type of connections that you've been dreaming of experiencing and you are committed to improving yourself and investing in yourself, then register right now. I've recently set up a more detailed landing page that now includes more details about all the presentations and what you can expect to experience. So just go to top1.fm/250. That's TOP, the number 1.fm/250. top1.fm/250. There you'll find everything you need, including an easy way to get yourself a $250 discount. So go there now, and Paul and I will see you in Austin on May 7th. Thanks for listening, and thanks for joining me, Paul.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Sales Success Stories podcast. To be sure you never miss an episode, and for an invitation to our sales success community powered by Influitive, subscribe to our newsletter at top1.fm.